So this is the tutorial on how to actually make your design of your circuit board. So in the last tutorial I showed you how to set up to make sure that all your layers and traces are set up right. So under route, right, it should be current auto router. Under route again, auto router setup should be number of layers set to 1. And under route, router setup, the trace width should be about 0.04, but this can vary depending on how much electricity is going through, and that'll be between you and the teacher to figure out. Okay, so the next thing you got to do now is start moving parts around so it actually all works. So the point of making a circuit board is that everything is as small as possible and that there's no jumper wires if possible. So I'm going to look at this and I'm going to say, well, see if I zoom into here, you can see where that one goes to there. And if I go to this one, you can see it moves up, see it moves up. So what I'm going to do, a lot of times you can program what LEDs go where, and so you might want to vary stuff. So these two go together. So I'm going to hit the space bar, and I'm just going to put this really close. You can see this resistor goes to there. So I'm going to put this resistor right here, right? And I'm just going to continue on and say, okay, well, this one here, or these two here, they can come close. And I'm going to space bar it around, and I'm going to take this one, and this one's the bottom one, and put this one here like this. Whoops, and not do them both at the same time. Okay, so now what happens is these are close enough that they should actually route later on fine. Okay, now I can make this a lot smaller. I mean, I can take this and do this, I can do this, and let's just move this down a tiny bit, and I can do this. And that makes the board a bit smaller, right? So everything's about making things small. So there's my first things done. Is this going to work? I don't know. We're going to have to wait until we actually run the router. So there's my power coming in, and here's one thing you can do. You can zoom in here and you can go over top of this and you can see that one says positive, so that's the positive leg, and there's a plus sign in there. And when I go to here, that goes to the V in. So I actually know that those two are in the right spot. And same thing ground here. You can see the negative, and you can also see how many times when I do this, let's zoom all the way out here. Okay, when I go over top of the negative, you can see all the negative spots that light up. Okay, so the last thing I do is just move these two parts in a lot closer. This one in closer, this one in closer, and let's just spin this around. Now I can zoom in a bit. I'm just scrolling in and out right now. Okay, and finally I'll do this, and I'll do this, and let's just see now. Let's see if this is actually going to work. Okay, so once I get my parts close enough, this is where it gets interesting. So if I just hit the auto router right here, it should route everything and I should not have any blue lines left over. So let's try it, and look at that, it works first shot. Okay, so what I want is I do not want any blue lines, they're called rat lines, left over. Okay, and they're all gone now, right? So my circuit board actually worked out pretty good, which isn't good, but as an example, but I'll mess it up in a second. Okay, so the other thing now is you scroll in, and this distance here is really, really close. Okay, once you actually print it out in real life, it's not very far between. So I like to make sure that all these corners, they're not this close. Okay, I want them a bit farther away. Same as here, this is a bit close. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So to do this, I want to change some layers around a little bit. So one is over here where it says top. I actually want to go to the bottom layer. When I go to the bottom layer, you can now see I can grab these things in blue and I can actually move them. Okay, so I can easily move stuff and just move it a little bit farther apart so it's not so close to each other. Okay, the next thing is that I want to be able to move everything at the same time. So if I go to View, Layer Display, when it's defaulted, it usually is on current only, and then you can only grab certain things. You see how the parts all left? So what I like to do is go to View, Layer Display, All Layers. Now everything comes there. Now I can work on everything. You can see I can highlight different stuff. Okay, so in here this is a bit close, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this one, come down a bit, and I'm going to grab this one, just pull it down a bit. I'm going to pull this one down a bit, and you can see how now I can just make a bit more space. Okay, so that's basically it to making circuit boards, right? And then finally I can go up to here, go File, Design Information. Remember the original one was like 3 inches by 6. Now it's down to 2 by 4, right? And that 4 inches is the actual width from there to there. I still think that's a bit big. So what I could do is slowly, you can take this and go, oh, I'm going to move this one way in closer because it can. This one come in closer because it can. This one come in closer because it can. Right? And you can see how you can slowly make things smaller. And then to get rid of the board, you just go Object, Delete Board. right? And then I could reroute it, and then it'll be a different, smaller size. Now here's the other thing you could do. Let's say I want to move some parts around, and I don't want to take the time to try and route these things. So I can just take this part, I can go right mouse click on it, and I can go unroute trace. And you can see how it goes back to blue, right? And then I can move, move this thing around. Let's just grab it here, right mouse click. Okay, move the part over here, and then what I can do is just go back to here and hit route. Right? And it automatically routes it back in for you. So there's another little trick that's really handy to be able to doing stuff. And I don't know, what's the last kind of trick? Yeah, that's probably all I need to show you, right? Because I can also, same thing, I can right mouse click and I can go pad properties, maybe, right? And what you can do is you can make the pads thicker. So if you want them bigger because more electricity is going through them, with height that I can do that. And let me just move this out of the way so you can see it. So these pads are going to get bigger. Apply to all pads. And you can see how they just got bigger. And that's kind of dumb. So I'm going to go Control Z and just undo it back to the right size. So that is basically it for making your schematic. Okay. And sometimes you just have to move stuff around to make it work, right? So the last step is obviously you save it. Okay. But then you go File, you go Preview. Okay. And on Preview, you see it comes up on the screen. Now what I like to do is under Scale, I like to change that to 75% so you can see the page, and this is 8.5 by 11 paper. I like to use these arrows to move the board because sometimes the paper I'm going to give you, you might need it there, there, there because we use multiple sheets of paper. So you put it here, you can go up to Object, and you're going to turn off the board, okay, because you don't need the rectangle around it. And then basically you can just hit print and away you go. Okay, always leave print scale to 100% because that's the scaling of this. Okay, but that would be your board basically done. Okay, just hitting print and then out comes to the special paper. So let's stop at that one. That's how to make a board, and enjoy making your circuit board. And remember, if it's not right, you'll be hooped later on.